Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Saturday. This video, we are looking at the NFL Week 14 Draftkings and Fanduel picks. For tomorrow's slate, we have a ton of cheap options this week, specifically at the running back position with some injuries. So let's go ahead and get started with the video. As always, if you enjoy the picks, appreciate the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know other picks that you guys like down in the comments section. Check out the links in the description. Twitter site is there as well. So getting us started at the quarterback position here, you have Josh Allen, $8,000 afternoon game against the Rams. He's been super steady and consistent all season. He hasn't dropped below 20 fantasy points since early on in the year in October against the Texans. Other than that, very consistent. Runs a little bit. Rushing touchdowns are there, 6 on the season. Good spot against the Rams defense. Only problem is he's $8,000. But it is one of the slates where you can pay up at quarterback because there's so many cheap running backs. So I would say Allen, I would like him a little bit more than Hurts, just because I think that game could turn to a blowout potentially in Philly, and then could see the Eagles turn to a run-heavy team in the second half. Other options, then you get a big drop-off. I mean, you got two guys at 78 or above, and then it goes down to 64 for Baker, who I don't hate. Him and Mike Evans make for a good pairing. He's given you a lot of GPP winning scores. Already this season has been a little bit since he's had a big game, but now that he's got Mike Evans back, should continue to get more involved. I mean, he had a good week last week. They're at home. Raiders defense is not anything special. I got to like Baker, especially at that price tag. I do like him more than Tua and Purdy this week. And then I think Sam Darnold is like a safe guy that gives you some upside at $6,100. He's been very efficient for them this season. I mean, usually he's getting you 2 touchdown passes a game. He's not a guy that runs much, but he can give you a couple fantasy points with his legs. The Falcons are such an up-and-down team, not great defensively, and they're at home in a dome, so it's a good spot to score the ball. Then you got Kyler at $6,000. He's coming off a pretty good game against the Vikings defense. I mean, the team left some points out there. They weren't able to finish a lot when they got into the red zone in the first half against the Vikings defense. But Kyler overall was pretty efficient. Had that interception late, which last drive of the game, trying to make a play, trying to get his team in field goal range. Other than that, I mean, I don't hate him here at home against the Seahawks defense. I think afternoon game could see him be a little bit less owned. And then you got Russell Wilson coming off one of his best games, 414 passing. Browns defense, another team that's, this game could turn to a sneaky shootout. Steelers against the Browns. We saw what happened against that Broncos game for the Browns. I mean, that was a single showdown slate, but if that was part of the main slate, definitely would have had some guys winning GPPs if you play some of those guys. And it's pretty concentrated with the Steelers pass catching wise. It's they got Pickens there. They got the tight end Freiermuth, who's been playing a little bit better than Calvin Austin, guy that gives you some deep shots. But I'm going down to Jameis Winston at 54. I mean, he's always been such an up-and-down player, but he almost gave you 40 fantasy points last game. He should put up 30 against the Saints. He's basically thrown for 400 yards like 2 times in the last 3 weeks, 395 against the Saints. Just a lot of upside here. Nick Chubb has been slow since coming back from his injury as expected. I mean, he hasn't run great, so they've been throwing a lot. They've been down in a lot of games. Another game that you could see them trailing and have to throw. Steelers defense, they're notoriously pretty good this year. Much better against the run, mediocre against the pass. Winston just played them a couple weeks ago, put up 16. Didn't even have a passing touchdown in that game, had one with his legs. But I'm going to take a shot on him because no Tillman. It makes for an easy wide receiver stack with Jerry Jeudy, who's only 57. I also think that Elijah Moore is also a good play, who's only $4,800. I mean, him and Jeudy are going to command the targets from the wide receiver position. And then you got the tight end, Njoku, who's been a touchdown. Really a good weapon for them in the red zone for Winston. 2 touchdowns last game. Good connection with Winston. So it's pretty easy to stack the Browns if you want to, and they're cheap. They give you a lot of upside, so that's what I'm going to do. At least do a 2-man stack with Winston and Jerry Jeudy. Running backs, Barkley looks good at 9,000. You got Kamara at 1,000 cheaper, 8K, who's been serviceable. Hasn't gotten into the end zone in quite some time since week 6. It's probably going to change this week because Taysom Hill, unfortunately, is out for the year. So that's going to open up some more rushing touchdown upside for Kamara, more passing touchdown upside for him as well. And then you got Bijan, who's been getting a ton more volume recently. Makes for a good tournament play. Not the easiest spot against the Vikings defense. But then we got the injuries now. We got Hall is doubtful and got Mason out. So the plug-and plays are going to be Isaac Guerrero at 54. Was probably going to be a 3-down back for them, losing their number 1 and number 2 options this week. And then for the Jets, Braylon Allen should get most of the touches. They do have another back, Davis, who got into the end zone last week. Maybe he's like the 3rd-down back, but I would expect Allen to be out there on most first, second downs. And against the Miami defense, they've been decent. But at 5,000, you get a running back that could give you 15-plus touches. I'll take that, especially allow me to go up at some other positions. So a wide receiver, another one that I'm going to look to pay up for this week is Mike Evans. Just, no Godwin. He's going to command a lot of the volume. Now his 3rd week back from a hamstring injury. He's took a step up. Targets doubled last week. Matchup is good. Price tag isn't crazy at 72, considering some of the other guys in his range. I mean, you don't really have any wide receiver that's super expensive. I think all are in play. You got Justin Jefferson, 78. Still hasn't had like a game where you needed to have him this year. Hasn't had like a 30 fantasy point game or like 35 or anything like that. So I think he's in play. The price tag is cheap. Tyreek Hill, still take shots on him just because I think he's due for a breakout game. Pickens at 68, I like. London is serviceable, but he's typically just going to get you in the teens. Don't really see a ton of upside there. I like Brian Thomas, 58. Get some upside and get some good chemistry going so far with Mac Jones. And then value-wise, I do like Elijah Moore at 48. I think Westbrook-Ikine is good at 47. It gives you a lot of upside. They're taking shots, deep shots with him, with Will Levis, and he's been amazing. Tight end-wise, Brock Bowers, McBride, definitely with the value at running back. It's a spot to pay up at tight end this week. So I like Bowers, McBride, Njoku, even Jonnu Smith, probably my top 4 with the pay-ups. And then value, if you needed any, I think K-Dot 44 or Freiermuth. And then defense, another slate where you could pay up a defense with the value that we have. So looking at the Eagles defense, maybe the Steelers, because even though Winston might give you like 25, 30 plus fantasy points, he could also give the other defense double digits with his pick sixes or anything like that. So Steelers defense most definitely in play. And then going more cheap here, we got the Bears defense 24 against the 49ers team who's been struggling a little bit this season offensively. Pay up a little bit more for maybe the Jags or the Seahawks. I do like the Cardinals at 3,000. Geno Smith has been turning the ball over this year. So those are 5 picks. And then my last pick I'm going to throw in is Alvin Kamara at the flex spot. Surely I'll put Guerrero in the flex because he's the late game. So that's where I'm getting to, going with the cheap running backs, getting to Kamara, and then paying up for Mike Evans and doing a Winston stack here. Could do a bring back with Pickens. Over on Fanduel, pretty similar with the build here. Winston, 69 is just, I think, cheap. It gives you upside. I mean, if you're looking to win a lot of money, Winston is one of the guys that should be on your short list because we know what to expect with him. It's either a very high ceiling or a very low floor. Allen, Guerrero, value running backs. Jerry Jeudy's so cheap on Fanduel. We know that Tillman is out. And then I like Mike Evans at 84. Just because he's going to come in a lot of the red zone volume touches. There's a chance that Bucky Irving misses, so maybe a little bit more targets for Evans, but he could give you a ton of upside. We know he has multiple touchdown upside every single week, especially without Godwin. And then Kamara at 92 is probably my favorite running back to pay up for this week based on the pricing. So that's what I got for this slate. Best of luck. Let me know other picks that you guys like, and I'll catch you all next time.